So a few days ago, ScrewAttack released their Bowser vs Eggman video, and I made a live stream reacting and giving, my first impressions to the video. And I've got to say, kudos to everyone who joined that, because that instantly became my most viewed live stream of all time. There were over 80 of you in there at one point, and honestly, it was such a privilege to have you all there, so a massive thank you for that. However, whilst the production value was phenomenal as always, unfortunately they did get a few things wrong, including the outcome, which is what I'm going to be going over in today's video. And obviously I don't know shit about Mario scaling, meaning that I had to do some fancy research going into this video, and thankfully a few Mario fans and Mario fanboys were gracious enough to point me into the direction of the Paper Mario series, which apparently has like the top tier scaling for Bowser. So that's what I went and did. Based on what I could find in the game, you could say that Bowser at his absolute peak would be in the multiversal ranges of power when he had the Dreamstone, since it contained a cosmology of 100,000 universes, since dreams in the Mario-verse are basically infinite in size, and it was 100,000 people, so 100,000 infinite realms. You could say that yes, the Dreamstone would be multiversal because of that. And also he was able to beat a weakened version of Super Dimentio, since Dimentio's invincibility had been removed going into that fight. So it's not like Eggman took on an invincible villain or, anything of that nature, but it's still crazy to think about since Dimentio was a threat to literally the entire Mario multiverse. In terms of speed, you can easily get Bowser at a low end to massively faster than light due to him amping himself from the same stars that propel Mario across galaxies into the edge of the universe, which is where pretty much every single galaxy in the Mario Galaxy series takes place. So yeah, you could easily say he's MFTL plus at a low end. Although, obviously, there is some inaccessible scaling for Bowser, but it's not all that consistent. Still, MFTL plus at a low end, inaccessible at a high end, that's all honestly fair enough. Also, I just want to take a moment to appreciate the fact that a lot of Mario fans were calling me like a Sonic fanboy, which is fucking funny that even though I've only played one Mario game and it was over 15 years ago, I still scaled Bowser higher than ScrewAttack did. So yeah, Bowser is certainly a powerhouse, and if this was an equal stats debate, I could honestly see Bowser beating Eggman, because he's pretty intelligent, not as smart as Eggman, but he is still pretty underrated, and he has a vast array of hacks that counter a lot of Eggman's, and he also has things like wish manipulation where he could just wish Eggman out of existence. So yeah, Bowser definitely has ways that he could win if this was an equal stats debate. The problem for Bowser is that his multiversal inaccessible speed scaling is literally nothing compared to even mid-tier Eggman Mechs, which I'm going to be going over now. As a baseline, it is consistent for Sonic characters, especially Sonic himself, to get several times stronger as the series goes on, meaning that any feats that they performed a long time ago should be insignificant compared to what they can currently perform, which is crazy to think about since over 15 years ago, Sonic was capable of traveling through an infinite-sized realm in Sonic and the Secret Rings, which would put him casually at MFTL plus to infinite ranges of speed. However, this is honestly a massive lowball to their speed, since in Sonic Generations it's stated in both versions that when Sonic accelerates through time they fix space, and even in the remastered version of Generation with the updated dialogue, they flat out just state that Sonic's speed is fixing space-time, which would easily be inaccessible to immeasurable in terms of speed, especially as this isn't exclusive to modern Sonic, meaning that even classic, adventure, early modern Sonic could honestly be in the inaccessible ranges of speed as well, which is fucking crazy to think about. For context, this speed scaling would be massively eclipsed in Sonic Forces with the form of Infinite, where Infinite was able to casually bully modern Sonic, and after the 6-month time skip, Sonic far surpassed anything he was previously capable of, meaning that inaccessible to immeasurable speed would honestly be nothing for him. And this is consistent since in Sonic Forces, both modern Sonic and the Avatar were capable of escaping null space in a matter of moments, which was a realm completely cut off from time and space respectively, showing how much more powerful they got since Generations, which required a whole ass game to escape from the void, whereas in Sonic Forces it just took a couple of seconds. With modern Sonic in Frontiers, even in his base form, being even faster than that. Basically what I'm trying to say here is that even base modern Sonic has far greater speed feats than Bowser and would debatably blitz, meaning that any machines and villains that scale to him would also blitz Bowser and his entire army without much issue. Especially since Eggman by himself in the recent games, you could argue, also has inaccessible speed, since in his birthday suit with no equipment, he was capable of escaping the void, which is a realm outside of time and space. So now let's go over a couple of the mechs that Eggman has access to, based on the rules that DeathBattles themselves introduced. The Egg Salamander was not only capable of draining the Soul Emerald emeralds of their power. However, just with its raw power alone, it was going to cause Blaze's universe to merge with Sonic's, and it was stated by Tails that this would ultimately cause both universes to collapse. Keep in mind that universes in the Sonic series are infinite in size, meaning that the Egg Salamander would be capable of causing two infinite-sized realms to completely collapse, which is fucking weird to think about. A common reoccurrence for Eggman is that pretty much all of his new mechs are stated to scale above the previous mechs, which is interesting to think about since even random-ass robots in Sonic 06, such as the Egg Wyvern, were stated to be more powerful and more menacing than anything he had created before, meaning that even this random-ass robot would scale above the Egg Salamander and would be universal plus, maybe low multiversal, which would make it a threat to Bowser's army in this fight. Keeping up the pace here, the Egg Wizard in Sonic Rush Adventure had absorbed the power of the stars, which Eggman had stated had more powerful than he had imagined, which would mean that it would scale above the Egg Salamander, which could already cause universal realms to collapse, and even had knowledge of the Precious Stone, implying that the Egg Wizard would scale above that, with the Precious Stone creating and sustaining the 5-dimensional imaginary world, not to mention that it allows for the existence of parallel worlds, which there are possibly an infinite amount, which is weird to think about since you gotta keep in mind Bowser with the Dream Stone had access to 100,000 universes, whereas this robot would be capable of scaling above something that could create an infinite amount of infinite-sized realms, meaning that the Egg Wizard by itself would already be a massive threat to Bowser. But wait, we're not done. In Sonic Unleashed, the Egg Dragoon was stated multiple times to be the most powerful mech that Eggman has ever created, and it was even capable of keeping up with Generation Sonic, who has the inaccessible to immeasurable speed scaling, so yes, this mech would also be a threat in this fight. And in terms of its power, it's by no means weak, since not only would it be stated to scale above the Egg Wizard, which has multiversal powers at a low ball, however, it would also be capable of fighting Generation Sonic, as I stated, who should be significantly above Secret Ring Sonic, who, even when at 50% power, could beat the Eraser Jin, who had absorbed 3, or at the very least 3, universal realms. So even Sonic at 50% of his power was capable of besting universal characters, and this mech was capable of fighting an even stronger version of Sonic at his full power. With this scaling also applying to the Egg Naga Wisp armor from Sonic Colors, which Eggman even stated was invincible and special for even his own robots, an unused dialogue from Eggman suggests that this robot could be comparable to the Chaos Emeralds themselves. The Time Eater was stated that it would obliterate all of space and time, meaning that it would casually be multiversal just by itself. However, it was also capable of fighting Generation's Super Sonic, where, for context, this version of Supersonic should scale significantly above 06 Supersonic, who already was capable of holding his own against Solaris, which was a super-dimensional being, and was capable of destroying literally every single timeline, with Sonic, Shadow, and Silver also scaling to his Phoenix form, which was stated to be even stronger than that, meaning that yes, you could very much get the Time Eater to Solaris ranges of power. The final robot I want to talk about in this video is the Death Egg robot from Sonic Forces, with Eggman stating that this robot would scale above Infinite and just surpass anything he was capable of, which is pretty crazy since Eggman stated that Infinite, even with the Phantom Ruby prototype, would already be 1,000 times more powerful than anything Sonic has faced in his life, with the Japanese port implying that it's even 1,000,000,000,000 times more powerful than anything he's faced in his life, which is crazy because base Sonic has encountered characters like the Time Eater in the past. He's also faced pretty much every single Eggman mech up to that point, including the Egg Dragoon, meaning that this casual universal scaling would be massively amped by this robot. Basically what I'm going with this is even the robots, not even talking about the MVPs or the most dangerous characters in this fight, just the robots themselves can either match Bowser in AP and durability, or just straight up surpass him. And that's under the assumption that he can tag them at all, since pretty much all of these mechs, especially the more recent ones, have speed feats that Bowser just cannot compare to. Since as far as I'm aware at least, Bowser has no level of immeasurable speed, and it's way less consistent for him to have inaccessible speed compared to these robots. But now let's go over the top tier characters on Team Eggman. Metal Sonic has consistently been stated to be equal to Sonic in terms of raw AP as well as speed, with this also being the case in Team Sonic Racing, which takes place after Sonic Forces, meaning that this forces scaling, so this inaccessible to immeasurable speed, as well as this casual universal scaling would also apply to base Metal Sonic, meaning that not even Neo Metal Sonic, like just base Metal Sonic, would already blitz Eggman and his army, and that's not even factoring in his stronger forms, or factoring in the forces scaling, where he should very much scale to Sonic, who somewhat scaled to Infinite, who was stated to be 1,000 or 1,000,000,000,000 times more powerful than anything that Sonic has ever faced in his life. Speaking of which, Infinite was capable of humiliating Generation Sonic, who should already have inaccessible to immeasurable speed scaling, with Infinite beating him so bad that Sonic couldn't land a finger on him, meaning that, yes, Infinite would also be capable of bullying Bowser, since that version of Sonic is much faster than him. But even with the 6-month time jump, where Sonic had surpassed anything he was previously capable of, Infinite was still capable of besting him in a fight. He was capable of overwhelming the entire resistance with a single attack, and would have killed them with the Digital Sun. Yes, it left Infinite in a weakened state, but the fact that he was capable of one-shotting basically every main Sonic character, including Sonic and Shadow, with one attack is fucking crazy to think about, and it would easily make him a threat in this fight. He could just one-shot most of Bowser's army, as well as having a speed level that the army just has no counter for. And then you have Sage, and she's just fucking busted. Not only in terms of speed scaling should she be massively above anything Bowser has seen, since she is somewhat comparable to Frontier's Supersonic 2, since she was capable of reacting to Supreme, who was amped by the end. Keep in mind that Supreme, by himself, already scales to Frontier's Supersonic in speed, and she would be logically matching that version of speed. However, her shields were also capable of blocking attacks from this Titan, and keep in mind that not only were the Titans built to take on the End, which was the most powerful character in the Sonic verse, however, this same Titan could also hurt Supersonic 2 with its attacks, who should be significantly above Frontier's Supersonic, who was already massively above 06 Supersonic, who could already fight Solaris. And her shields could sort of keep up with that Titan and resist its attacks for an extended period of time. It's to the point where I genuinely don't see Bowser winning this fight in the slightest, because whilst yes, he has very impressive hacks, you could argue he has more impressive hacks than Eggman for sure, I'm not denying that. But when the speed gap is this massive, I honestly don't see him doing shit. And even if we were to wank Bowser's army and say that every single member, from the fucking Hammer Bros to the Goombas, if every single version of that army scaled to Bowser, so they all have multiversal scaling, inaccessible speed or what have you, like the entire army still gets blitzed. Like, I don't really know what to tell you. They have no speed feats on this level, and you could argue that characters like Infinite and Sage would just one-shot most of them. You have the Time Eater there, the Egg Wizard, like, this is fucking rough for Bowser. Especially since you could argue that Bowser himself is honestly nothing that these mechs and these characters haven't seen before, since whilst yes, he had the power of 100,000 universes at his disposal, when we look at the Sonic cosmology, Solaris and the Time Eater alone were capable of destroying literally everything, meaning that an infinite amount of infinite timelines, meaning that these characters would scale significantly above Bowser, and there are characters on this team that either scale to the Time Eater and scale to Solaris, and characters who can fight Solaris, or the other thing is that the Time Eater is literally a member of Eggman's army, meaning that Eggman would have access to the Time Eater in this fight. And I want to take a moment now to address something really dumb that Screw Attack did, because that's something very consistent with their videos, where two characters are very similar, but then they sort of throw you like a gotcha kind of argument to justify a bullshit win, such as that time when they tried applying real-world human biology to the Incredible Hulk of all things. They tried saying that Eggman is a bit of an arsehole, whereas, you know, Bowser has great communication with his army, meaning that Eggman has the teamwork advantage. Now, yeah, Eggman is definitely an arsehole, I'm not denying that, but he stated in Sonic Frontiers he could give Sage control of his entire fucking army, and she could just control everything. And you gotta keep in mind, Sage has undying loyalty to Eggman, and she doesn't even have to be in this reality to control the army. She could just chill in cyberspace. Meaning that at the end of the day, when we're looking at this fight, if this was an equal stats fight, you could argue that Bowser does in fact beat Eggman. You know, physical stats are relative, meaning that the speed gap has been mitigated, Bowser is also incredibly intelligent, he has his army, and he has very impressive hacks that Eggman has no counter for. But in a fight where we're taking literally everything they've ever done, unfortunately, the Mario characters just have no speed feats comparable to these characters. I just don't see this fight being close. But that's what I think. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section down below, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Have a great rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.